Hi, and welcome back to another video. So today I'm going to be showing you guys how to replace some broken spokes. I've had about at least 2, if not 3 of them break, mostly on the head up here, not on the adjustment part where the, I guess you kind of call the nipple that goes through the wheel and hooks onto the spoke itself. So the easiest way I found to do this, because it's the second time I'm replacing some spokes, is by removing the wheel, and then you have access to take the tire off and you kind of get the spoke around to get through. So let's get started. So first things first, I'm going to disconnect the zip tie right here. Just got to cut it. There we go. And then next thing I want to do is take off the derailleur cover. And then on the other side, there's a lock screw that holds the wheel onto the frame itself. So once you get that lock screw out, then you can take the 2 nuts, loosen them up, and the wheel pulls right out. All right, and the derailleur holder is held on by 2 Allen wrench keys right here. All right, now that we have the derailleur cover off, now we can get the other lock screw on the other side. And the lock screw is just held on by 1 bolt over here. Now just grab the big main wrench to get the 2 bolts off. So pull the little cover off here, and you have access to the bolt right down there. And now get the other side. And now the wheel will come right out. Oh, almost forgot. Have to disconnect the wire right here. There we go. Now we can pull it out. And then now we're just gonna take the air out of the tire so we can pop it off. All right, now that I have the air out of the tire, I'm just gonna pop the tire off the rim, like so. Just basically gotta work your fingers right around the edge. And then comes off on one side, and we'll get the other off the other side of the bead. And then pulls apart just like that. So show where you have one of the spokes broken. Here we go, right here. So if we take a look, I can't really see, but right down there, that's one of the broken spokes right there. So we have a total of 1, 2, 3. So I see 3 broken spokes right now. So we're gonna go ahead and get those replaced. All right, and Rad actually sells these spokes by themselves. So you can buy them, I think they're like $2 a piece. So I have these 3 extras right now from previous time, and I actually just ordered 6 more that just came in. So got extra ones for later. This is the second time I'm replacing them myself, and I've actually had VeloFix replace them once before too, a couple that broke. So from what I understand, it has to do with the amount of torque that this motor has. And if you're also riding in the highest pedal assist, it typically tends to start snapping spokes. So for me, it seems to be every 500 or so miles, that's when I end up seeing another broken one. So I'm gonna start by placing this one right over here. So the easiest way I've found doing this is simply just pulling the rim tape back a little bit. So just get the screwdriver underneath it enough. We can kind of just fold it back over so you can gain access to the top of the spoke nub where it screws in, so you can unscrew it. So the one I'm replacing is actually this one right here. You can see it. So all I'm going to do, pull that out just like that. So it come right through the top, came right through the top. And then you can see the hole right there. And the way you want to get it back in, you got to take the nipple off the top. So this guy right here, you want to unscrew that. And then you're going to lace it right back through the hub right here. So going to push it straight through. Oops. Going to push it straight through, go right inside the brake rotor so you can get it in. And then for this particular one, it actually wants to be in front of the other spoke. So the only way I've been able to figure out how to do this is to basically kind of bend it to get around and pull it through. And then you want to go in front of it, and then back through and into the hole over there. So again, kind of bend it and go around and then go back through. I have yet to figure out a way to bend it enough where I don't scrape the inside of the wheel, but I'm not really worried about that. So came around in front of the other spoke, and now you can see the top of the head right there. And now all I'm going to do is simply screw the nipple right back on. Got it through, and then I will get it kind of to the tightness where I think it should be, and then I'll actually have a spoke wrench to get it to the last amount. I've never really actually built a wheel, so knowing the exact tension, I'm quite honestly just guessing, but I'm going off the other spokes that are still on there that are good. And what I do is kind of get it as close tension-wise to what the other spokes are. So I will just kind of hand tighten it as much as the other ones are. So I'll leave it like that. It's a little more than finger tight at that point. And like I said, I have a spoke wrench where I'll actually get on the inside and get it to the other tension. So let me actually do that now before I forget which spoke it was that I did. Each time you tighten it up, it does pull the wheel back in one direction. So you do want to make sure you can kind of keep them as level tightness-wise as you can. That way it doesn't bring the wheel out of true. So this is the spoke wrench I got. Just got it right off Amazon. I think it was about 10 bucks. And I believe it's an 11. My apologies, no. It is a 12. There we go. It is a 12. I believe that means it's a 12 gauge. All right, so that's the first one. And now I'm going to do the other two. This other one's right over here. Pull it out, right there. Again, just going to pull the rim tape back a little bit. Pull back and just kind of push it through, just like that. Same process, going to go right back through underneath the brake rotor. Pull it all the way through. And again, I'm going to pull it back through that way and then get it into the opening spot where you're going to put the nipple down in to screw it on. So get it started and just going to screw it in just like so. Again, 12 gauge. Now I'm going to go back on to the last one. Right down here. Here it is. Those are all the broken ones, and last good one right here. The interesting part so far is that each time this has happened, it always appears to be on the non-chain side. I don't know if there's a reason for that. If you happen to know why that happens, please leave a comment down below and let me know why. And again, last one. You never want to tighten these too much on one side. You kind of want to work your way around to going one side to the next, because when you pull one side, it pulls the rim one way, and when you pull the other side, it pulls it back the other direction. So kind of want to do like a quarter turn on each one, going back and forth so it pulls it evenly. From what I understand too, as the spokes loosen up, that also helps, well, doesn't help you, but it helps the spokes actually break when they're loose and they're starting to move around. Like just looking for the drive direction, so I put it on the right way. And from what I understand, the reason why this happens with the spokes is as they loosen up, the lacing loosens up, that's when it tends to have the spokes be loose enough so they can move around, and then they start to kind of walk themselves on where the rivet is welded on, and they end up snapping in that particular area. There we go. One side seated in. Get the air valve lined up with the hole. There we go. And now, just gonna seat the other side of the tire. I had one other person comment before that, you know, they thought my hands were super strong in order to get these tires to be able to seat on without using a tire lever, but I have found that these tires honestly are pretty loose. So getting them on and off has not been a big deal, at least in my personal opinion. So I'm gonna grab the air pump. We will pump that tire back up. All right, got the air pump now. Just gonna get enough air in there so I can make sure it's nice and tight, and then once I get the tire back on the bike, then I'll actually get it pumped up to the point where I normally run these at about 30 psi. You want to get the correct amount of pressure in the tire, and you can always check that once you get it back on the bike, but I got enough air in there. I kind of bounce it around after I get a little pressure in it, just to make sure the bead has sat evenly all around the circumference of the tire, which it looks like it has, so that's good. And now we're just gonna do the reverse order of taking the wheel off and putting it back on. So just want to move the chain out of the way. And you do have kind of like little slot washers that will line up the bike, line up the rim to get back in there properly. Make sure they're in the correct location, and that's it. So it's already down in the spot. I'm going to finger tighten the nuts just so it doesn't move around. And first things first, I'm going to put the lock, the wheel lock, back on. So on the other side, it's one little screw, this guy here, and one Allen wrench key to put it back on. So you'll see it's a silver, kind of like teardrop shaped component that is on this side. In my other videos where I showed how to change a tire, I did get a nice detailed shot where it was coming out, so you can always check that out too if you want to know exactly where it is on this side. But there's only two things that you loosen and tighten on this side: the main nut, the big one, and then the one to get the lock off. So now I'm going to tighten up the actual big bolts that hold the wheel on. They are 18 millimeter. Nope. That was loosening it up again. It's going to go in the right direction. I did actually have a bolt fall off the other day for the fender, one of these guys right here. Fortunately, I had some extra hardware hanging around and was able to get it put back on. But you definitely want to check the tightness of these screws and bolts from time to time. So now I'm going to put the derailleur cover back on. And this is just here for, God forbid you go down or anything like that. So there is a specific direction on how it goes on. Just want to wrap it around. Just going to go and get one of these screws started. All right, derailleur protector's back on. I'm gonna hook up the main line here. There we go. And you wanna get a zip tie and then just zip tie that back down. I do not have an extra zip tie right now, but I will get one at work tomorrow and zip tie that back up. So that is pretty much it. Just checking the wheel. Seems to be fairly true. Last thing I'm gonna do right now is adjust the brakes. So I'm going to loosen up the adjustment screws that are up by the brake levers. I had them out pretty far to pick up the slack that was in the line. So for the way that I adjust these, I just take as much slack out of these as possible. So you're just going to want to loosen up the nut, and then once it's moving on the cable, the way that I do it is I just grab the caliper, pull it all the way up, get the slack out of the line, and I'm just going to snug this up so I can now test it on the brake lever. You want to get it snug enough because if it's not too snug, then when you go to grab it, it's going to pull back through the cable, but I haven't fully tightened it down yet. Just going to grab the lever. Oh, I'm still pretty loose, so it is a little bit of a finesse. It always takes me 2 or 3 times to really get it properly adjusted. You even want to go a little tighter than that. All right. Let's hope that's the final adjustment on the rear. Yeah, feels pretty good. So you kind of want to go maximum all the way in and then come out maybe 1/8 of an inch, a couple millimeters in order to make sure you have enough room still to pull it down. So now we'll get the front wheel, similar operation. Again, got the bolt right there. Just gonna loosen it up a little bit. Pull the caliper up. There we go, that's perfect. And that's how you change broken spokes and adjust the brakes on the RadMini. If you happen to like this video, please hit the thumbs up down below. If you happen to like review videos in general, please feel free to subscribe. I do them periodically. Thank you and have a great day.